Thank you, Richard, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session of the first day of the Construction Leaders Summit. I want to thank NBS for organizing this and for inviting me here to speak. And I am sorry that diary commitments are preventing me from doing so live. But I wanted to make sure I did not miss the opportunity to address you all, because this moment, I should say, with the world still in the grip of coronavirus, with COP26, the United Nations Climate Conference just around the corner, and with a global and national economy in need of much repair, I think there could hardly be a more important partner than the construction industry. You will have heard by now, probably more than once, of this government's ambition to build back greener, to build back faster, and to build back better than ever before. We mean that quite literally. Building, constructing is at the heart of our recovery plan. And I think it's important that we continue to make this clear, as the Prime Minister has on so many occasions. As we recover from the pandemic, we have a choice to make. Return to how things were done before and risk our wealth, our well-being, and carbon commitments as we shy away from the challenge, or to use this moment as an opportunity to ramp up our ambitions, make a break from the old approaches, and generate new ideas and enthusiasm, passion, and put us firmly on a path towards the future that we want. Well, you'll not be surprised to hear that we have not been deterred, not been put off. We are choosing the latter course. We were already first in the major economies of the world to legislate to end our contributions to climate change by 2050. And with buildings making up around 1/5 of our country's greenhouse gas emissions, construction will play a major part in reaching that goal. Both the Construction 2025 strategy and construction sector deal include a commitment to reduce carbon emissions from the built environment by 50%. Since the COVID-19 hit our shores, we have continued to make important progress towards that goal. For example, with the Green Homes Grant that opened for applications just last month. The scheme will see the government funding up to 2/3 of the cost of improvements to over 600,000 homes, which will support more than 100,000 green construction jobs. And I'm pleased to say that quite apart from government, the construction sector is stepping up to fight climate change. Companies like Wilmot Dixon and Mace have recently announced ambitious net zero commitments, and I applaud them for that. The Green Construction Board, meanwhile, has already advised government on regulatory, policy, and technical requirements to overcome key barriers to the delivery of net zero and infrastructure. They will continue to lead work for the Construction Leadership Council to embed net zero across all the CLC's activities, making a significant contribution to the discussion on the sector's carbon footprint in the days, weeks, and of course, months to come. So as we rebuild, we can be confident that we are making a significant contribution to decarbonizing the United Kingdom. But that is academic if we are not building the right things, the facilities and the structures that people want to see in their communities. I see the use and impact of digital technologies as a key theme for the summit, as a vital part of this conversation. Digital can help the architects and designers in the audience to better articulate the vision of your projects and its benefits to the immediate site, the local economy, and the local community. Projects such as the Ebbsfleet Garden City and the proposed Everton football stadium are being designed using digital technology to provide a positive interactive vision for local residents and local businesses, really beginning to help them see the benefits that are on offer. And because these technologies are so visual, they can help us to picture how proposed buildings will look in the future, often generating huge amounts of positivity. Digital also helps us to build faster. I'm sure that some of you will have fond or perhaps frustrating memories of working with pencil and paper on drafting tables, working up models for builds and doing all sorts of calculations. Digital technology and business information management enables us to remove that, building faster and driving efficiencies as part of project deliverables. Now, there are all sorts of digital tools which can make this process not only easier, but quicker and much more efficient as well. And there are places like the Centre for Digital Built Britain, housed in the University of Cambridge and supported by my department, BAYES, which is helping academics, industry and policymakers alike to explore the possibilities of digital to improve every aspect of building, from design to occupancy. Embracing these technologies can therefore accelerate the whole cycle of a build while helping to ensure that the end result is as efficient and reliable as possible. That can only be a positive step, in my view. Of course, building better does not just have applications for design and use. It is about utilizing the advances in technology as set out earlier, improving the design accuracy and vision for projects. And it is also about making better use of time and resources. That is why I am such an advocate of off-site manufacturing, building each component of a project individually before bringing them to site in a coordinated manner, drives financial efficiencies, and of course enables us to build much, much quicker. It is a smart solution to an old problem, and one which, again, boosted by digital technologies. This is all about building the right things at the right times and in the right ways. And to make sure that is what we are doing. In the summer, the Prime Minister launched Project Speed, a task force chaired by Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, which brings together key departments from across Whitehall, including my own department, to make sure that we build quicker, faster, and better in a more collaborative manner. So as we build, I, the Prime Minister, and ministerial colleagues expect to see smart new policies and ideas coming from Project Speed, helping us to meet the urgency that this moment requires. And to complement this, soon the Cabinet Office will be publishing their construction playbook, a new, much more collaborative procurement and supplier management strategy. You know that we want to build dozens more hospitals, upgrade hundreds of schools, and get thousands of new homes up on the market. We will only achieve this by working together and in unison. By using our position on as the sector's biggest clients, our aim is to drive innovation, spark industry investment, of course, and create more opportunities for SMEs to deliver government projects. But it is essential that this is done with everyone's safety at the forefront of our minds. As we know, all too painfully, one of the most urgent parts of this is residential safety. The Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government are providing £600 million to remove and replace aluminium composite material cladding, or ACM, from private and social sector homes over 18 meters. And they are providing a further £1 billion to do the same with non-ACM cladding from high-rise residential blocks. I'm also pleased to say that the government has responded positively to Dame Judith Hackett's Building a Safer Future review, the recommendations of which we have accepted and are working on. Judith's ideas have been very helpful, and I'm sure her contribution today will be just as insightful and productive. One of the outcomes of this work will be a new and independent building safety regulator to ensure that safety remains a cornerstone of the industry. They will give expert advice to local regulators, landlords, and building owners, the construction and building design industry, and to residents, so that everyone can have a full understanding of building safety. But here again, I'm glad to say that the industry is taking a lead through the Industry Competence Steering Group. They have been working on a new competence framework for those working on high-risk buildings since Dame Judith's report, and I'm pleased to say that their own report, Setting the Bar, was published this week. It sets out a number of recommendations designed to improve standards across the industry and is very much aligned with the work done by MHCLG. I've spoken today about greener building, quicker and more efficient building, and safer building. And I have not said the word better all that often, but that is because this is precisely what we mean by building back better, recognizing that our economy and our people need support and building in a way that helps both, but focusing on what we need to renew and where we want to be in the future. We are ensuring that we build a better country now and for the decades to come. And by embracing the technology at our disposal today, we can make sure that everything we build is the best it can be. So I want to thank you all for the important role that you are playing and for the contributions that you are making to our country's future. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Minister. It is wonderful to see the passion that you have for our industry and recognise the contribution it can make to the economy as a whole and the environment as well. As the Prime Minister said, we want to build, build, build. And government has a key role as the largest client in construction. So how will government and where will government start to invest to drive that new initiative on building?
Look, we recognise in government the importance of the construction sector as part of the economic recovery. So the Prime Minister has been very clear about this. We're working hard to accelerate the housing market, bringing forward major projects on infrastructure. So we've outlined the £37 billion that we want to spend in the next 12 months. And of course, Project Speed will ultimately help deliver the commitment we've made that we want to invest £640 billion in social infrastructure, schools and 40 hospitals, but also in our transport system across the board, in infrastructure across our economy. And that is, I think, probably one of the most ambitious programs of any government in history.
And we've heard from Robert Jenrick that another area you touched on, off-site and modular, is going to form a key part of investment in housing. Do you see that similar methodology of tying a percentage of off-site to happen to other sectors as well?
I think so. I mean, look, the industry has been incredibly innovative and advanced in this. And I think that through both learning from industry, but also our commitment to offsite and modular building, we will, as I've just sort of outlined in my opening remarks, build much more efficiently and better quality buildings and safer buildings, because actually the embrace of modular and offsite techniques already in the United Kingdom is what is that delivering that sort of the momentum in the industry. And we, as policymakers, as legislators, regulators, have to essentially create the environment, the broad outlines of the direction of travel. And I think the industry will then absolutely do the right thing.
And it will lead the UK as being one of those exemplar nations. We've done the same with digital and building information modeling, where the UK was seen as being one of the leaders around the world. We're going to hear from Dr. Anne Kemp about the international standards. Is this something that government wants to keep positioning? You mentioned CDBB and some of the great digital work by Mace and Wilmot Dixon, who we'll also hear from. But how do we keep the UK at the forefront, at the vanguard of digital?
Well, we are actively encouraging the sector to make best use of digital technology through the examples I gave earlier with the Centre for Digital Built Britain, with offsite manufacturing, and of course the work that my colleague Robert Jenrick is doing at MHCLG in leading on building safety. The United Kingdom is globally renowned for its digital work, and I want to see this continue to grow much more at pace, I should say. The one, I guess, silver lining, if there is one, from the COVID challenge is the ability to work at pace, and I don't want to lose that once, hopefully, we together overcome this pandemic.
I think my colleagues in MBS would echo that, in that we transformed as a digital business. We are a digital business, but we could switch very quickly to be able to continue our business and help grow with our customers despite the pandemic challenge. Another challenge that you mentioned was safety. And we're about to introduce Dame Judith Hackett, who will tell us a little bit more about the Building Safety Bill and the new regulatory framework that is due to come into place. Can you give us any more of an update as to the timescales behind this?
Yes, and again, I said it in my opening remarks. I'll repeat it again. What Dame Judith has done is absolutely the right thing, and is really quite important, seminal work, I could say, for the industry. The draft bill is currently going through the pre-legislative scrutiny stage. At the moment, I can't provide a sort of exact timeline for the publication at present, but it's something that we're taking very seriously. And as I said, it's going through pre-legislative scrutiny already.
We'll hear a little bit more from Dame Judith. You mentioned competencies, which comes out of that, and tomorrow Peter Capelhorn will talk to us a little bit about competencies as well. But Peter is the CEO of the Construction Products Association. There are also changes coming to do with construction products as we move. Well, we've already left Europe, but as we move away from the transition phase, we move from CE marking into the new UK mark. How do you think that will affect manufacturers? What should manufacturers be thinking about, particularly with their view on pushing their products into international markets?
Well, as you've, the industry has probably noted and noticed that we are very ambitious about international markets. We have signed our first in-principle trade agreement with Japan post us leaving the European Union last January and becoming a sovereign nation. A very ambitious free trade agreement with Japan, much more so than the free trade agreement between Japan and the European Union. We will, of course, continue to pursue a free trade agreement with the European Union. We want a Canada deal with the European Union. And we want to make sure our industry is able to compete globally And of course, as we discover our ability again, or rediscover, I should say, of being a great trading nation, then the construction industry will play a major role within that, as it has in many parts of the world. I traveled before COVID to China and saw some remarkable work from some great British architects there in China and in the Middle East as well. So I'm very optimistic that the future, both domestically and internationally, is incredibly exciting and I think will be rewarding as well for the industry.
And we can see that with our data being used around the world, and the things like our classification being used by governments now around the world, which creates that level playing field for UK construction to be able to take our skills and expertise. So one last question for you. You mentioned the Cabinet Office playbook. This sounds like a new vision for construction. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and when we might see that?
It is, and it's very exciting. And the Chief Commercial Officer, who is, I think, doing incredible work for government, actually just before me coming on to talk to you here, we were just going through it. I think it'll make a huge difference in terms of how we procure, how we work with the industry. The industry's had enormous sort of co-creation of this, and I think it will be a step change. Again, taking advantage of the new opportunities now that we've left the European Union. The government procures about £292 billion a year of stuff, and that's just the stuff above the threshold, not below the threshold. 292 billion, and we want to make sure the European Union, and of course within the rules of WTO, we have much greater UK content and much greater SME content as well. Things I mentioned in my earlier remarks, very important, and the playbook will be very much the next major step on that journey.
Fantastic. Minister, thank you very much for your time. We need to get on now with the rest of our conference, but on behalf of all my colleagues and all of the delegates watching, thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard.